Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show with your host, Phil Tarrant.
Hello, and as you can tell, I hope I'm not Phil Tarrant. My name's Katarina Taurian and I'm the head of editorial here at Smart Property Investment. Outside of that, I'm also an investor myself at the very early stages of building my own portfolio. And for me, interestingly, so far, the biggest hurdles haven't been money or banks or finance or any of that big stuff. They've actually been people. People that don't show up, the NBN contractors who give you a 3-month window, and pesky neighbours. So here with me today is Julian Lancey, who has an extensive property portfolio up his sleeve and can talk to me and to you about some advice for dealing with that. You've been on the podcast quite a few times before.
Yes, thank you so much for having me back. I love it. I love coming here and chatting about property.
Oh, good news. Well, you're definitely in the right spot if you like chatting about property. Just for those who don't know your story, just give us that high-level overview. What does your portfolio look like?
Well, just property speaking, I've got 6 places and I've had them over 10 years now, and they're all apartments. And I guess what makes it a little bit unique, they're all in Sydney. Yeah, so they're cash flow positive. They're giving me money. I got them when I was about 30 years old, and I'm almost turning 42. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I love property, and I've bought and sold, but I currently have 6, and they're like my little babies. I've actually got a little baby right now that's keeping me up all night. So much more difficult than these 6 properties, actually.
Well, you definitely don't want your properties to be keeping you up at night.
Yeah, well, they have, to tell the truth. Like, I have, been worried and stressed about certain things about them that has kept me up at night, to tell the truth. Yeah, and it's as you said, it's people related. Sometimes, this particular one in my mind is bad tenants, and problems can keep you awake. Like any problems, that we experience, health problems, family problems, and property dramas can keep you awake at night, just like my little baby.
Yeah, no, they absolutely can. So I found myself at the beginning of this journey for me in 2016. Yeah, all the big stuff was fairly straightforward, still daunting, the financing situation, dealing with the banks, dealing with real estate agents, but you're kind of prepped for that to an extent.
Oh, well, you prepped for dealing with real estate agents. I don't know whether you can ever prep yourself for that.
Well, luckily I had a great experience, particularly with my property manager. So that was good news for me.
Good to hear.
Yes. I'm sure there's a whole nother podcast in that.
Yeah.
But where I really started to run into some hurdles was joining a Strata committee and having to deal with the needs and expectations of my neighbours. Yes, you're nodding along there. So I imagine that it's been your experience as well.
I've been on 6 Strata committees, and isn't it funny, like I'm the same person on one committee as the other, but on certain Strata committees, I am a hero. I'm like Jesus, There's nothing I could do or say that's wrong, okay? But on some, I don't know whether it was a good idea saying Jesus, but you get my point. I'm the good guy. Let me just take that back. I'm the good guy. And on other Strata committees, I am the devil. There you go. This is getting very religious focused.
Yeah, it's quite biblical, isn't it?
But anyway, so isn't that interesting? So you're the same person, and different properties and different situations, can make you seem the good guy or the bad guy. There you go. That's my point.
Yeah, absolutely. Hit me with the soft stuff first. What kind of issues have you dealt with?
The good stuff or the bad stuff?
Oh, let's say the stuff that let's start with the family friendly stuff. What have you dealt with that you've reached a resolution for?
Okay, just say recently I've had a tenant. She went overseas a few months ago, and she actually said to me, look, Julian, I'm, my dad's not well. She's from England. I've got to go overseas for 3 weeks. And when I get back, it's kind of makes more sense for me I should say here, I manage all my properties. So I don't get an agent to do it. So that gives me
wow, that hatred runs deep, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it certainly does. Well, I used to be an agent. So I guess that's why. So she was going overseas for 3 weeks, and she said I couldn't afford to pay. And I said, look, go overseas. I've got family that are coming down for, a family event here. And so they actually stayed in her place, and she didn't pay rent when she went. So it was a win for her, win for me because my family got to stay somewhere. So there you go. That's a small positive win for everyone. She's actually just given me notice just a week or two ago, and I have a new idea to make some money.
Goodness. Okay. Well, before we get into that money-making idea,
Yep.
I'll tell you what's happened to me recently. It took me a good few months to allow my tenants to have pets.
Yep.
One cat, one really old sick cat, the whole sob story.
They bought an old sick cat?
Look, we don't need to know the background except that the cat wanted to live in the apartment and I was fine with it.
Okay.
Who wasn't fine with it was the rest of the world, evidently. Is that a situation that you've ever encountered?
Oh my goodness.
That's a yes.
You must be reading my mind.
I must be.
Because, God, it was a couple of years ago now, and I've had tenants living in another property, and they have been there for a long time, and they're lovely. Two blokes, happily engaged, like sweet guys, and they've had a cat the whole time. New owner came in, new person to the committee. All right, no, we're not allowed the cat. They've got to get rid of the cat. And I'm like, you can't do this. You can't kick out a cat that's been there longer than you. I mean, cats are people too, right? I'm not even a cat person. So I threatened to go to NCAT. You get the pun there?
Well done.
There's a bit of a pun there. Yeah, so
best
NCAT.
jokes are the ones you have to explain.
What does NCAT stand for? Is it New South Wales Civil and something Tribunal or something? NCATT. Anyway, so I threatened to go there. There was horrible emails. And all I was doing was arguing that a cat that's been living in a place deserves to live there. And these other people in the block changed the bylaws because currently the bylaws allow cats or, that I can't remember the exact words, but it's okay to have an animal in a block, yes?
Well, it depends on the bylaws.
Right, but before they change them,
you're talking about the state level ones?
Yeah, the state level. The what's the word I'm looking for that starts with D? The standard strata bylaws allow animals.
Yeah, basically, a little while ago now, the government made it a lot easier for people to have a pet in their rented place, so in your case an apartment. That was certainly the case at my place as well. However, the Strata bylaws at my particular apartment actually said that all residents needed to approve if a pet was going to be on the premises. And
but
that's
what
where
if
we
there was
started
already
to
a
hit
cat
hurdles.
in there?
Well, that's where you get to the point of taking it to tribunal because I guess a lot of bylaws conflict with what the government says, which is that you have to have a really good reason to not allow someone to keep a pet.
Yeah, especially a cat. I'm like, am I allowed to say cats are... I said I'm not a cat person. Are you a cat person?
I mean, my name's Cat.
I know,
so,
but
yeah,
are you
100%.
a cat person?
Bona fide, yeah.
Bona fide cat person. I mean, I'm not a cat person. I'm a horse person. I like horses. I couldn't keep a horse in my apartment.
No.
But a nice little kitty cat, I mean, what do? They don't make noise.
That's look, obviously I'm fully on board with that argument, and that's a great sort of, you've got a good social leg to stand on there. But in terms of managing a property and abiding by all the laws, etc., did you end up being able to get the cat over the line?
Yes.
Okay.
I got the cat. There's a few puns there too. I got the cat over the line. Okay.
How'd you do that?
Well, I just threatened to go to NCAT. I said, look, this is not right. The cat's been living there for years. It has rights too. So I was like, let's go to NCAT, and it didn't actually happen. I've been to NCAT quite a few times, and as you mentioned before, it's all been people related. It's people related. I've been on the side of my tenants going to NCAT. I've been on the opposite side. So I've being on so many committees, my life is full of dramas. My life is full of dramas.
Okay, what about some of the other dramas that you've dealt with?
Well, we mentioned just before we hit the red record button, the drama before that kept me up all night was when I leased my apartment and found out the people who were living there were addicted to ice.
Okay.
And I'm telling you guys as, like it wasn't like, it was like an emotional thing because like I really, I found this out. I wanted to help them. I didn't want to kick them out. I just wanted them to pay rent, I was happy for them to be there, but they're not paying rent. And I've got 2 kids to feed and a wife and a family and, like I'm not running a charity. There are charities out there to help people doing this. So it was keeping me up all night. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible experience. And so I had to go to the tribunal and...
Okay, so were they causing any damage to the property?
Yeah, they caused a huge amount of damage, and fortunately it was insured, so I was covered there.
Oh, that's good news. So what kind of damage did you have?
Oh my goodness. I can send you photos. It was just trashed. I had TVs, they scraped paint off the walls, off the tiles, and they painted this and they painted that, and people in the block said there was like drills going in the middle of the night. And this is the Strata committee where I'm considered really nice, by the way. They all love me. I can't believe they still love me, but they, I guess I was it was a moment in my life where were difficult.
Okay, and how did you work out that things weren't going well with those tenants?
Well, they weren't paying rent.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good starting point, isn't it?
And I was like, okay, not returning calls. I was like, okay, and the way you've got to do it is the procedure you've got to do it is the standard, apply to NCAT. You go there, you present your case. And here I was, I was there only by myself. They never turned up to NCAT. And NCAT is so focused on tenant. It's all about tenant, that it was almost going to go, I felt it was going to go to their favour just for some admin BS. You know what I mean? It's like, here I was, just a young dad with a nice little property and, helping the world, giving a nice accommodation to a nice couple. And they weren't paying, yet how was I the bad guy when I went to NCAT? Because I didn't fill out some form correctly or tick some box correctly.
I can appreciate how it's difficult from a government perspective and a tribunal perspective to deal with this sort of stuff because what you're ultimately dealing with is people who have got serious issues, right?
Yeah.
So it's super delicate. But I can also appreciate from your point of view that it's just like, I just don't want my property to be trashed. So at the end of the day, what was it that got it in your favour?
Well, they didn't pay rent and I had to show receipts and show this and show that, and I didn't have any photos of the damage. And then you actually get an order from the sheriffs, and I'm seeing that in an American accent because they're sheriffs, and you go down to the near the Downing Centre, or actually it is the Downing Centre, and two sheriffs, and they don't have the cowboy hats and the big badges. They look like cops, and they just have little cop badges, and with the sheriffs you go with them, or your agent goes with them, and evicts, like physically asks people to leave. That's what happens.
Oh, that's quite distressing.
It's quite distressing. And when we were actually there, I was there with the two sheriffs, and one of the tenants walks in with a big jerry can of petrol. And I looked at the sheriffs and the sheriffs looked at me, and we thought, what are we doing? Is this guy going to bomb this place, So they made a few phone calls, and this is, in King's Cross, they call it Potts Point, but this is the heart of King's Cross here. And made a few phone calls, and then I had like 8, 9, 10, police Ninja Turtle bomb squad turn up, with their black, vests and stuff, and storm in. And anyway, so don't ask me why he's bringing a big jerry can of petrol into his apartment. I don't know, but anyway, it was really scary. So
of course it is. It's scary for all parts. I'm sure it's a scary life for those people to lead as well.
I hope I'm not turning people off investing in property. Am I turning people? I'm probably turning people off. Invest in property by all means. It's a great way of improving your your wealth. But if you can't deal with stuff like this, then you just need a property manager.
Yeah, and look, there's definitely ways to deal with it. So I think, as you said earlier, having proper insurance policy is really important. I know when I was going through my own landlord policies, I noticed that tenant damage was covered in different ways by different insurance providers. Also, I was really particular about the condition report. So I'm not sure if you were the same as well before any of your new tenants have come in.
Oh, just taking photos as well, I think, is really important.
Yeah, the before and afters.
That's not from an owner's perspective. That's from a tenant's perspective as well. Take photos of everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially if it's furnished as well.
Yeah. And then I guess it's just a matter of knowing your rights. You
Yep.
know, the tribunals are, even though I feel like they take a lot of time, they are surprisingly easy to access. And
Yep.
I found them quite responsive to begin with as well. I'm not sure if that was your experience too.
You're responsive, but just on the tenant side.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Like, yeah, and there's just a process, you know? You've got to, you know, put in this paper and wait this amount of time and you get this paper and then you've got to come back and,
Yeah, there's
you know,
a lot of paper.
It takes a long time, but, you know, I've been to the tribunal many times and sometimes, you know, I've been on the side of, you know, the Strata committee, you know, and it's been another owner or resident with the issue and it works. It, you know, at the end of the day, it works.
Yeah.
And that's because Australia works. You know, this is a functioning, fantastic country, you know, and buying property is fantastic.
Sure, definitely is. Just got to have your wits about you with certain things, don't
Certainly
you?
do. You just got to have your wits.
Now, why do you choose to be on so many strata committees?
Well, I think it's important to know what's going on with your block. Mm-hmm. You know, here I was. Look, the truth is I'm on one of the Strata committees. I'm technically not a member right now because I couldn't make it. I couldn't make the AGM, and I sent a little email. I said, "Oh, look, can I still be on it? You know, I'm happy to be on it." And the gentleman's like, "Oh, I think, you know, we only want 7 people on the committee." But, you know, this is your right as an owner. If you want to be on the Strata committee, then you should have the right. And if you've got the time and you've got the know-how, you know, it financially impacts you. You know,
Of course
this
it does.
stuff. You know, I think, and, you know, also, I'm not even saying from a, I guess, personal perspective, like it's better for you as well as an owner. Like if you want to get certain things approved through Strata, you know, it's easier for you to be on that committee.
It is.
Okay.
It is, yeah, definitely.
Strata committees, they're not easy. I mean, you know, like little things are huge nightmares. Letterboxes, you know, floor mats, you know, like door handles, you know, people can, you know, colours of a wall, like these things can go on for days. And you can have your functional Strata committees where things get discussed and happen and roll along. And then you can have these dysfunctional Strata committees where nothing seems to happen and get done.
I think the good thing, though, the benefit about all of that, because it can be a little bit of a mess, is that if you're the kind of person who is really responsive and ultimately has the best interests of the common property at heart, you will get stuff done. I think that my biggest piece of advice and certainly my biggest learning is that you have to accept it doesn't function in the way that the private sector does or that even government does. It's just a beast onto its own. And it takes a lot of time to get stuff done.
It's
but
ridiculous.
The key is recording everything and being really responsive.
Yeah, the key is recording. When you say that, the key is putting it into emails.
100%.
Is that what you mean?
I minute all my conversations as well, just for my own records.
You're right.
And just making sure that you're super responsive because at the end of the day, I mean, everyone's got a different way of showing it and different ideas about it, but everyone just wants the property to retain its value and to grow in value, right?
And things go wrong in all properties. You've got to kind of, you know, slowly fix this and fix that. Otherwise, you know, you look at it and it's, you know, your block can be a dump quite quickly.
Absolutely.
Quite quickly.
I've found in the few years that I've been doing it, the key to keeping everything running smoothly is maintenance before a drama. And for me, that was my biggest hurdle, convincing everyone at the beginning to be like, we need to spend money on things that haven't broken yet. And, you know, I just found that getting building reports and having regular inspections and that kind of thing was actually really successful in being able to convince people, we just need to keep spending money on this.
Or just like, okay, it came to mind, you know, I've got a place and people didn't want to clean the gutters. So they didn't clean the gutters. So there was downfall of rain and then the gutters, you know, got all blocked and water got into the strata areas. So there you go. Like, you know, it's you know, stuff like this has to be done because, you know, if you're not on top of it, then it becomes a problem. Yeah, but it's not easy being on a Strata committee, and a lot of people put in a lot of work and they don't get paid. You know, what do they get out of it? You know, it's exhausting.
It is exhausting, but I think it's worth it.
Definitely worth it. It's you know, I think if there's, young people out there that well, it doesn't matter age. If you've bought and you physically can do it, mentally can do it, then you should.
Yeah. And be good to your neighbours.
Be good to your neighbours. Love thy neighbour.
You don't have to love them, but you do have to be good to them and record their conversations.
Love thy cats, Yep.
So what's next for you?
That's a good question.
It's a big question, isn't it?
Yeah, well, my wife and I we've just been on a big trip in Southeast Asia, and we're thinking about going overseas again.
Lovely.
Renting out our place. And, remember I said before, my idea to make money, I've decided I want to put one of my properties on Airbnb. Mm-hmm. Dun, dun, dun.
Pay your taxes and you'll be fine.
Yes. Well, look, let me tell you, I pay a lot of taxes. I pay land. Oh, I pay more taxes than anyone I've ever met, So now I'm going to have to pay more taxes, am I? Oh, my goodness. Oh, no more taxes, please, Kat.
So why are you moving to an Airbnb strategy?
Well, because I can, for a start.
Yes.
It's available in this block. And I know a few other people that do it in the block. And my friend's wife, she does it, and she's got two Airbnbs, and that's her job. And I thought, wow, she works for herself. She's her own boss. And I thought, I love that, And property, it seems, owning a property, it doesn't just end there. There's business and ideas that happens by just owning a property, okay? Mm-hmm. Like I own property and then I needed to get certain properties cleaned. So I was like, okay, well, I'll put in a quote to do this, to do that. Oh, I've got to start a company, got to get the company registered. And now I've got a successful cleaning and gardening company, Strata Cleaning and Gardening Company. That came from owning property. I guess what I'm trying to say is business creates business. And I wouldn't have this opportunity to have an Airbnb company if I didn't own these properties. I guess you can kind of rent other people's properties and do that. That's a huge thing. And I don't know, I'm just the type of person to always look for other opportunities to make money and create business.
Oh, it's great that property can help you do that. Have you had, with the property that you're going to put on Airbnb, have you had issues renting it out?
Actually renting it out, finding people, no.
Okay.
No.
You just think you'll get more bang for your buck if it's on Airbnb?
Yeah, I'll get more money.
Okay.
And I don't want to be the one going in and cleaning it every week, so I have to get, a cleaner. So that's a job for them. So it has to be worth it for me. It has to be worth it. Like I'm not going to create extra work, extra stress just for no more money.
I imagine there'll be a fair bit of management involved in this.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I don't have too much time. You got some time, Kat? Can you come help?
I won't be managing your properties.
Okay, all right. Because I've got these wonderful tenants. I'm thinking of putting in. They like to party all night.
Oh, good, good. No, I don't think you could afford my services somehow.
Okay, yep.
All right. So that's the next step for you. What about on the purchasing plans?
We've made a few offers. This, earlier this year. It's it feels to me like it's a good time to buy.
In Sydney?
In Sydney. And, we have the thoughts too. Do we want to kind of sell up and move to the Gold Coast?
Goodness.
Yeah, I'm serious. That's a big thought too.
When you say sell up?
I'll sell a couple and move up there and, buy a house on the water for $1 million. That doesn't sound too bad, does it?
Sounds all right.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think though that we're going to rent a place, something I haven't done in a very long time. Like I haven't been a tenant for over a decade and a bit, and I'm happy to go that way and wait for the right time to buy. And I'm self-admitting, like I've said in the past that rent money is dead money, and I've stood by those words very strongly. But now I've got my money doing other things, and I just think I don't believe that anymore. I don't believe that rent money is dead money.
No. Look, I think mortgage money can even be dead money if you're not using it right. It all depends on your strategy, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
I'm just thinking.
And that's
you've
the
got
law.
me thinking.
Well, that's good news for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, things are changing. Things are changing for the better.
Okay.
Things are always changing. And that's the thing with property. You've got to. Things always do change. Opportunities do come up. Mm-hmm. Opportunities do. Yeah. So it's great. Property is still the best. in my mind, I often chat to my friends about this. I've got lots of investments. I know we're here just to talk about property, but I've got property, I've got shares, I've got Bitcoin, I've got a racehorse.
Goodness.
And number one is property. Mm-hmm. It's the best because it's the bricks and mortar. You know, there's always the demand for people to live in it. You can always make it better. It always creates business, creates more opportunities. And it's you know, there you go. It's the best. It's the best way to increase your wealth, buying property, 100%.
So in terms of the, I know you're obviously very on board with it and very comfortable with it.
Yep.
But in terms of the bottom line, like money boosting, cash flow, etc., it ticks all those boxes for you compared to the other investments also?
Well, I love shares as well. Mm-hmm. But, you know, if I was to pick one, I'd say property's better.
Okay.
There you go.
And how's Bitcoin going for you?
Oh, well, I'm up a little bit, but, you know, it's kind of interesting, Bitcoin. I'd like to talk about it. Most property investors, you know, you got your, you know, Triggerboffs, you know, the big names. I'm sure if Phil was here right now, he'd be hating on Bitcoin.
He wouldn't be hating on it. He'd love to be compared to Triggerboff, though.
Yeah. Well, he is the Triggerboff. He's the North Sydney Triggerboff. Let me just say, comparing property to Bitcoin, they're almost like the opposite, aren't they? You know, one, you're buying actually something, and the other one, you're buying nothing. You're buying fairy dust. But having said that, you know, the millennials, are they millennials born after 2000? You know, they're is that right? Is that the right term?
No, it's wrong, but that's okay. I'm sure everyone knows who you're talking about.
Okay, the you know, people these days are okay with wealth being numbers on a screen. That's how I feel. Mm-hmm. And as I said, Phil and the Triggerboffs, I think they're like, oh no, you can only get property, you can only get shares. It's BS. You can make money off Bitcoin. You really can now. And people like it. Bitcoin's going up. You know, Bitcoin's going up, property's going up, shares going up. There you go. In
defense of Phil, I think he just really sees the opportunity in property, right? Lifelong property investor. Yeah.
Well, he's a smart man. Property is the best. But, you know, there's other ways to invest out there. And the idea is, you know, is diversifying. It's not just getting one thing. Like, you know, it's not just having only property. It's not just having only shares. It's not just having only Bitcoin. It's not just having gold. I forgot to mention gold. I love gold. Look at this gold.
Goodness.
I love it. Yeah,
you have got a lot of gold going on over there.
Yeah. But I'm not just talking about gold jewelry. I'm talking about gold as an investment, Kat.
Bullion?
Yeah,
right.
Like all my gold bullion bars stored under my pillow.
Goodness, I feel like this conversation is going to take a turn for the worse, so I might just wrap it up there.
Okay.
It was very colourful chatting to you today, Julian.
Thank you. I hope I was on my best behaviour.
You were on your best behaviour.
And gave some good, successful. I'm a successful investor, and I don't feel I fit the cookie cut mould. You know, because I do different things. Yeah, there you go. Is that okay?
There you go. And we got through the whole thing without swearing. Look at that.
Yes, I had to bite my tongue a couple of times.
Well done.
Okay.
Well done.
Can I drop a few F-bombs before we
finish?
No,
you can't.
Okay.
Let's finish on a good note.
Okay, finish on a good note.
Excellent.
Buy property. That's the answer. That's the good note here. There is no better way to increase your wealth than buying a property.
You sound like you're running for an election there.
I do. Yeah, I could be a politician.
Oh my goodness.
Vote for me, the property party, smart property investment party.
Most definitely not endorsing that, and we're going to wrap it up there. Okay. Thanks very much for your time, Julian.
Thank you.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.